with Half Dozen Customs, and we're back out here for a little Monte Monday action. Today is the day that we are going to switch these transmissions out. If you haven't seen our last couple of videos, we painted and installed the transmission that came with this motor when I purchased it. It is a few inches too long, so our drive shaft don't fit. So I have another 350 turbo transmission that is a shorter transmission. So we got that painted last week, and we're getting ready to switch them out, and hopefully in the end our drive shaft fits. If our drive shaft doesn't fit, then we'll go from there and decide what we're going to do. Obviously, we're going to have to do something with the drive shaft at that point, but we will figure it out. Also, today, we're not going to be working on this today, but it's something that showed up today for the Monte Carlo. Sorry for the road noise. But we got the exhaust that showed up. So, all brand new. It is what came off of this motor. So it is not for the Monte Carlo. Actually, it came out of the Jeep pickup truck that we're building. So probably going to need to do some modifications to it to make it work in here. But it's brand new. Literally, he had that exhaust installed in that truck like 2 weeks before the truck got here. And then, you know, once we started getting into the truck, he decided that he was going to change out the motor. And now it has a whole new exhaust in it. So that exhaust he brought over today. So that we can use it for the Monte Carlo. Right now, I'm thinking that it'll probably dump out somewhere back here, which I'm okay with. As long as it's not dumping out like middle of the door, then I'm okay with it. As long as it's past the door. I don't want to be sitting at a stoplight and have the windows down and the exhaust is just rolling up through the windows. Not to say that putting it, you know, back in front of the back tires is going to be much better. But if it's right underneath where you're sitting and it's just rolling into the window, that I don't want. So, you know, we'll figure that out one day. We'll get that exhaust put in and we'll see where it lands. And if we got to do some modifications, then we'll do some modifications. But that is exhaust that came with this motor and trans, so it's awesome that he dropped that off. I tried to get it from him before, and he sorry, I was looking to see what Colleen was doing. I tried to get it from him before, and he still had plans of using it in the truck, but then ended up going a different route. So here they are. So that was cool that those dropped off today. Thank you, Keegan, for bringing those by. So now to this. Now we have the bell housing bolted all up. We never went in and like hooked up the torque converter or anything like that. So basically we just got to get the jack underneath there, with the board on it. That board right there. We got to put our straps back on the front of the motor so the motor don't slide backwards into our firewall. And start unbolting our bell housing bolts and get that motor dropped down. And then Colleen's going to come out and help get that, because if you remember from the last video, we needed that board underneath there to have enough height to get the transmission up in there, but we can't get the transmission out of underneath the car when it's on that board. So Colleen's gonna have to help come in and get that board out from underneath there so we can get the transmission out of the car. Then we're gonna have to take that transmission off of the engine stand and get it back on the jack and underneath the car, and yay, sounds like fun. So let me get you guys set up on the stand, and we'll get to it. Not gonna get done if we don't get to work. Stop talking. Okay, start with strapping this motor up again. Last week, I don't know how much of it was caught on video or what I talked about on video, but went to open the garage door, and the garage door caught the camera stand and knocked the camera over, and it broke my camera mount. So I ended up trimming a little bit off of the camera stand so that it'll clear the doors so that don't happen again. And we ended up getting a new camera mount, which I think is much better. There's still a plastic part on it that could break, but the rest of it is metal. I'm gonna look into switching that plastic part out for a metal part. It's just something that screws on, so I should be able to get one. But it's on kind of a slinky style handle now, so if we knock the camera over, that slinky part should absorb all the impact instead of before it was just all a hard mount setup. So if it falls over, hopefully it won't break nothing this time. Kind of sucked that I broke it. It was bound to happen though. I knocked that camera stand over often. That's not going anywhere. Alright, let's get the jack underneath there. Got the jack underneath there. Now we gotta get the trans mount out. So I'm gonna drop you guys down below here. We have not gone to get hardware yet. I figured we weren't really sure how this was gonna happen to work yet. Okay, let's work on getting these bell housing bolts out. Okay, we got all the bolts out, and Colleen is out here. So we're gonna get under there, and we're gonna drop this transmission down. And then once we get that transmission down and out, we'll roll everything else out here and get that transmission off of that stand and onto the jack. So, but first, let's get this transmission out of here. Let's get me out of here. Okay.
Oh, I didn't grab my glove. I'm a dumb.
So I pretty much got the motor and the trans separated, so we just got to pull it back a little bit and drop it down, and we're ready to go. Okay, trans is out. A little more difficult when you're trying not to scratch, the bottom of that trans pan up. I'm sure we got a couple scratches in it because we did slide it on the jack. But I'm gonna pull this other trans out, get the engine hoist over here, strap it up, and get it off that engine stand.
You got it?
Yeah. Do you want to go get some rags, and put them down there so you're not...
Face first and translate?
Yeah. You don't have the jack tightened up either.
It's not?
No.
Okay. Better, right? It's not moving now, is it?
No. Alright, hang on, let's...
Come in.
Well, shit. Okay, man, what a struggle that was. That other transit we did last week or the week before, I mean, that thing just fell right in place. This one, you know, it started with it falling off the jack, and then once we got it back up there, the board split in half. So then we were trying to, you know, balance this thing on a board that was split completely down the middle. But we got it in. We got some bolts in. I'm just gonna go through and get everything tightened up, and we'll be back to see if the drive shaft fits. So hope you guys enjoyed that, because that was a struggle for sure. So we'll be back in a few minutes. I need a break. Okay. So I got all the bolts in the ball housing. We got the dipstick in now. Before we didn't have the dipstick in, so we got dipstick for the trans now. I was able to hook up the downshift cable, so that hooked right up. Still got to figure out somewhere to put these springs. I don't know how the heck. I don't remember how it was before. But we'll figure that out. So let's crawl underneath here and let's see. Let's see how our dry shaft does this time. Huh?
I want to see.
Oh. It'll work.
Really, really?
Really, really. We're
Really?
good. We are good. So, yes, we fit.
In the yolk.
Very,
that's
very
the
nice.
yolk.
That's you.
That's the yolk. That's
That's the U joint.
the joint that connects to the rear end.
So now we'll come back out here later. It's lunchtime. I should have took the trans mount off of the bottom of that trans before we took that trans out. I didn't even think about it, so we'll have to put it up on the hoist and get that trans mount off, and then remount the new trans mount. That's a brand new one. We'll remount it up here, and then we'll test fit our trans mount and see if everything lines up, which it should. You know, the only thing that should be different between the other transmission and this one is the tail shaft. Everything else should be in the exact same spot. So yeah, so we will we'll be back after lunch, and we'll continue on with this and see if we can get more of it put back together. So I had said that we need to lift up this transmission so that I can get the trans mount off at the bottom of it. But I want to set that transmission on the dolly that the motor is sitting on. So we're gonna get the motor put on the engine stand, and then we will lift up the transmission. We'll put the torque converter back in it. We'll take out that motor mount, and then we'll set the transmission back on the dolly that the motor is sitting on. So then that way everything's rollable and accessible. I don't want to lift up the trans first, do all that stuff, and then we have to set it back down to get the engine off of that dolly. So let's just go ahead and just do that real quick, and we'll go from there. Alright, there's that. Now let's go pick up that transmission. Alright, we got everything set up over there. Much better. So I'm gonna break down this engine hoist real quick and put that away, and I'll see you guys under the car to put this trans mount on and see if our trans cross member actually fits the new transmission. So it should, because it's actually the transmission that came out of the car. So we'll find out. Okay, let's put this thing on. Okay, I remember when we took this out, it had two different style of bolts in it. And so did the one that we just took out. Even that one had two different bolts in it. So we got the I hooked up, I think off camera, I hooked up the we hooked up the speedometer cable. And I think I have it on the wrong side of the steering shaft. So it looks like we're gonna have to take that back off and switch that around. It needs to be cleaned anyway. So we've had this trans mount in. The only thing that changed is the transmission, and my bolt holes for this don't line up anymore. We need to go that way, like a half an inch. So I have everything loosened up, so that we can shove everything over as far as we can. And I have it shoved over as far as we can. Now, I can hook a ratchet strap to here, to this frame rail, and just pull everything over a half an inch. I'm sure it'll work, no problem. You know, everything's on a rubber isolator, so it'd just be pulling the rubber pretty much. But I think the proper way to do it is to cut this guy back off. You guys are seeing that. So cut this guy back off. Get this thing bolted back in place where it needs to be, and then weld him back in. So because we shouldn't have to pull the motor over with the ratchet strap. Let me take the ratchet straps off of the front of the motor, and we'll check that real quick and just see. You know, maybe one of those ratchet straps is pulling the motor funny. Funny, haha. Alright, well, we're in. Like I said, I knew that the ratchet strap would work. And it only had to go over a half inch, and basically all we did was just shift it on the rubber isolators that are up front. You know, I don't think it's that big of a deal. But we still have to take this out and get this painted. We're still just kind of in test fit phase. So since we're gonna have this back out anyways, I'll just cut this back out. The next time we have it out, I'll cut this back off. We'll retest fit everything, and I'll weld it back in. You know why it's off from this one to that one, I don't know. We tried loosening up the rubber isolator that's bolted on the transmission that we just took off the other transmission and put on here. It's slotted so that it can move back and forth like this. And we did loosen it, and I slid it over as far as it could go. And it still wasn't enough to get it. So, like I said, I don't think that it's a big deal what we just did, but I shouldn't have to do that. So we'll make that adjustment later. So dry shaft fits, so that's good. Only thing that I see is that our slip yoke here, how far we're in, there's maybe only like this much room before we bottom out in the back of the transmission. And looking at the, I pulled the drive shaft back out to see where the rust line was of where like it had sat for the last 25 years, and it's like this. So, and we are sitting like this. So I still don't think that we're right. What we're gonna have to do next Monday, what we'll do is I'll find the U-bolt things, and we'll bolt that drive shaft into the rear end, and then we'll get the jack underneath the rear end, and we'll cycle the suspension, and we'll see what it does up here. Because I don't think that there's enough play in that. But who knows, because the rear end's sagging right now. If we jack the rear end up to where it's actually sitting on its own weight, it could pull the drive shaft back that way, which will open up our thing. So, and if that's the case, then we're fine. But like I said, we'll figure that out next Monday. It's time to move on to the next project. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was quite a struggle earlier. But I think other than just struggling getting that transmission up in there, I think everything else today went smoothly, and I'm super happy with it. So next Monday is another day. We will see what happens then. One way or the other, we will make this work. I'll see you guys in the next one. Remember to like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment. I'm out.